Only one type of burger. For every pallet. Fries are extra. Large in size. We've got the shakes. Going over the brim.
Hey, this is Chris from JCW's. Put a positive, delicious spin on your day at any one of our 5 locations. In Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, or Harriman. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Celebrating the grand opening of the Bullfrog Spas factory store in Billings. From March 6th to 16th, purchase a Bullfrog Spas premium hot tub or swim spa and receive up to $3,000 off MSRP, plus a free essentials accessory package. Bullfrog Spas' patented and customizable jetpack therapy system allows you to choose your desired jetpacks for optimal relaxation and pain relief. Visit our new showroom in Billings today or online at bullfrogspas.com.
The KSL Sports Zone's Basketball Mayhem is here. Head to KSLSports.com and sign up now for KSL Sports Basketball Mayhem. Make your picks today for a shot at $1 million with a perfect bracket. The best local bracket will win $1,000, and if you beat my picks, you'll be entered to win a $500 prize. Don't wait. Make your picks now because the tournament starts at 10. You have less than 2 hours. So make your picks now. Powered by Omada Real Estate. Buying or selling a home? Visit OmadaRealEstate.com.
Omada.
DJ and PK, I'm in Utah. PK is in Oregon, in Portland, where BYU will play at 5:25 today. There is a whole rhythm to covering the NCAA tournament. The day before, there is they call it a practice, but it's really a light shoot-around so the players can get used to the arena a little bit and the fans can have something to do and fill in and look at their team. If they want to do something serious, where they're not scouted because it's wide open, then they go to a local high school or some other place that's arranged for them to have a serious practice. And they have immediate availability, 2 or 3 players. In the case of BYU, it's 3 players. And the head coach go up on a stage, sit in front of that blue curtain you see on TV all the time. They do their thing. We played some of that for you in the 6 o'clock hour. But they're also walking around the arena, PK, and sometimes you can grab somebody for a couple minutes, and you did exactly that with the head coach.
Yeah, Kevin Young, and he was in demand, and he had a few minutes before his team was to practice. And so Jay Drew, Mitch Harper, obviously D-News, and then KSL Sports with Mitch and myself, the 3 of us. I let them go first, and they each asked a question. I think Jay was working on a big piece on DeBonsa. You can see that. What's their DeseretNews.com?
Deseret News, yeah.
Deseret.com now, actually.
It'll redirect them.
Yeah, Mitch constantly, well, you can find it.
Yeah.
It's very easy to find. And then Mitch, who just fills our website with all sorts of content. Sean Walker is also here from KSL Sports. We got you covered inside out for sure, spending the money to give you the best coverage possible. And with that in mind, I wanted to ask Kevin Young about that coachy comment because that stuck out a couple of weeks back. I wrote about it. You can go to KSLSports.com and read what I wrote there, and I think they'll post it later at KSL.com. And so I wanted to see, what happened for him to get to that point. And he joked, well, obviously a 3-game losing streak. But then he goes a little deeper. He has a little bit of Pablo Mastroeni in him in terms of you ask him a question, and then he'll take it 2 or 3 levels deeper to give you a little more insight into what his brain is thinking and how he goes about coaching. And that's the stuff that I find fascinating. How to, defend a pick and roll, that's all great. But anybody can read that in a book, right? Basketball 101 for dummies. How to run a pick and roll play, how to defend it, all right? You can just geek out on that knowledge. I like to get into the other stuff. What's in the mind? What are they thinking? How do they then, when they got that knowledge, being able to transfer it to the players? And he talked about, and I hadn't heard him say this, one play against Cincinnati where they worked on it. They literally worked on the play from the defensive perspective the whole time in practice. And then Cincinnati runs that play, the first play that Cincinnati has the ball, and BYU doesn't defend it like they practiced, and it hit him. What we're telling them is not resonating, and we need to change. And I find that stuff extremely fascinating, and you can hear it.
All the kind of outreach stuff he's done, taken like a Book of Mormon class and all that.
Have you noticed that, and is that really genuine? And what about AJ kind of drives him to do that?
I think yes, it is genuine. Is the answer to that question. I think what drives it is just his parents. They're great people. They're great humans. I think they've just really raised him to be respectful. That's the thing I really like about the topic where you're going is just the respect that he has for BYU, the way we do things, what we stand for, and the fact that he's embraced it and is proud of it is it's pretty unique.
What's been your favorite thing about coaching AJ? You've been around some of the great players in the sport, just some attributes that you just really enjoyed coaching him.
I just think his approach. I think he's serious. He's very coachable. That's probably the thing I like the most is just you tell him to do something, you ask him to do something, you try to get his opinion. You can have like a legitimate basketball conversation with him. And it's high level. It's real stuff. So I just think just his IQ and his coachability are probably the things I like the most.
Was it a sense of self-discovery? It seems like towards the end of the season here, you've been talking about maybe backing off. Too coachy was the phrase you used. Did you have to go through a process to get to that point?
Yeah, it's called losing 3 games in a row and then flying back across country and trying to figure it out. But, I think sometimes, I think coaches get in their own way, and I'm not immune to that. I think, the introspection it takes to just figure things out. You lose, you have to. Yeah, that's your job as a coach, right? You got to figure out why you're not getting things done. And so I think really for me that the moments where I just saw, here's where I knew we were not on the right path. The very first play of the Cincinnati game, all we had talked about was how we were going to guard this play. They ran up the first play of the game, and everything we did in practice that looked great, they couldn't do it in the game. And that's when I was like, man, we gotta do something different. This isn't resonating with the group, and so that's kind of what drove some of the changes that we've made.
And then that you've been able to see the results on that basically immediately.
Yeah, and so I think it's pretty interesting because it allowed us just to. By simplifying things, it allowed us to just hold the guys accountable to what I keep saying, do it harder, longer, stronger, faster. That's really resonated. One of my coaches has a phrase where it's like, did the guys take to it? And they've taken to this notion of, less is more, just do it better, faster, stronger. And so, it's been a great, I've been at this for 20 plus years, and it's like you just never stop learning, and this has been a great example of that.
And this, what you call the third iteration, is now playing its best ball.
Yeah, and that's what you want to be doing this time of year, right? No matter, how you get there or what's gone on in your year, it doesn't matter. You just want to get to this point. You want to get to this point with confidence. You want to get to this point with playing, to your point, the best basketball you have all year. And our guys, players are smart. They really are. And they can feel it, and I can feel it. They can feel it, right? And so it's a pretty cool thing, and it's obviously something that we've tried to talk about.
There's the head coach, Kevin Young, and you know who he sounded like right there, PK? He literally said this. I just heard this. Morgan Scalley. Never stop learning. Coach is always learning. You're in it 20 years. There's always more stuff to learn. That whole thought that you've arrived and now you've got it. Morgan, and you couldn't go because of your travel arrangements and the whole bit with the NCAA tournament, but Morgan had the media up there for an hour, and that was one of the points he made. We sat in this theater where they have the team meetings. You've been in it. They've used it for other media stuff. It's like 100 seats in there, right? And there's probably like 10 to 15 staffers and probably 20 media members, maybe 25 media members in there. And I was sitting next to Yak, and he pointed out somebody asked him a question. He had a little laser pointer, and they had stuff on this video screen, the theater screen, right? But he has these 2 permanent signs posted on each side. And one of them is a bunch of football stuff.
One's
win the fourth quarter,
that's
be good in the red zone.
Those are Kyle Whittingham's pillars for success.
But how quick did Morgan's pointer go over to be coachable, never stop learning? His pointer went so quickly to that.
He's done it 100 times.
Exactly. He went right to it. Bang! And you don't arrive. Even when you know a lot and you're Kyle Whittingham and you're 66 years old and you're way into this and you are a veteran coach and all that, but the game's constantly evolving. So that's an encouraging thing you ought to hear out of your coach, because otherwise you get stuck and then time passes you by.
Yeah, and I want to make it abundantly clear. I would have gone if I could, and the only reason why you two went is because there was a free lunch that preceded that.
Nope.
And so
soda, baby. Didn't have the lunch.
I was there for the film study. This is great.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. You got into line play. You could almost hear Yak, the pig, into the mud. Ooh, break it down.
And being able to have that self-discovery as a coach is just so vitally important because every season games are different. You have new guys, but more so than ever in college basketball. It seems like most of the teams, if you're like Duke, well, you're bringing in the latest slew of 4 and 5 stars, and then they go off to the NBA. If you're other programs, you're bringing in a bunch of new guys because guys either graduate or transfer out, and then you go in the portal. So there's never been a time like it is now where so much is new every October, and you have to mold it together in order to be playing your best ball at this very time. This is what all these teams are shooting for, is today and tomorrow, and then so forth next week and all that stuff. And so listen to Kevin Young talk about that, and then you've got to figure out what it is you learn, and then you've got to figure out, okay, how do I get my guys to understand what I'm trying to say? Because just because you have this knowledge, you might not be able to communicate it, and then you can communicate it in practice, which isn't really real time. Everything is controlled in practice. Well, you get into the games, and it's uncontrolled. That's the time that they really need to hone in on it, that time that you spend in practice, because that's real time, and you can't really help them in that literal moment. You spend all that time leading to that. So how does that whole process work? And that's what's really cool. And that was a short interview. I mean, that was 3 minutes. But I asked him 3 or 4 questions. I was fascinated by those answers. Obviously, the questions, because I asked them, so they must have been brilliant. But I was talking about the answers. And that's the stuff as an interviewer. That's what I really, really enjoy, where I can have a newsmaker, an athlete, a coach, an administrator, whoever it might be, man or woman, doesn't matter, and I can ask them a train that I'm going down, a series of questions to find out what's going on. And that was very brief, which is what you only get these days, but I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity to do that, because I found his answers just fascinating. And that's what I was saying, I think maybe it was in a prior segment, that all the stuff that went on in December and in January and February and even in this part of March doesn't really matter anymore. It's what you're doing right now. And it seems to me, from casual observation, that the Cougars today are in a good state of mind to go win this ball game. I'm not talking about making a run. I'm talking about beating Texas today at 5:25.
Even though it's brief, I thought it was really valuable hitting him. The other thing in that interview that hit me was when you asked him about the coachy thing and what made him losing 3 in a row and flying cross country from Cincinnati, and a little giggle, like what a miserable flight that had to be. And it's only funny now because he's won 3 of the last 4, and even in the loss, they acquitted themselves quite well against one of the elite teams in the country.
Right.
And that's and you've probably heard me go off on this several hundred times. You know how I get one thing and I can hold on to it and beat it into the ground. But the whole notion in college sports and in pro sports, across the moat onto the drawbridge, pull up the drawbridge and sit inside the castle and don't interact with anybody. That is sweeping the league. I was talking to David Locke before a Jazz game, and a visiting media member from another time zone came up and started on a rant about exactly this topic because of what was happening with his club that he's covering and the lack of access and kind of an imperial attitude and all that. Coaches, I think, get so much with the media. They get so much with the fan base when they open up a little bit. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be on your terms at the NCAA tournament. I've had coaches at the NCAA tournament. I've tried to get them in the hallway like you just did. Absolutely blew me off. Absolutely just blew me off. I've already talked to you guys, and kept going like, all right. I don't know what you get out of that for your program. Whereas when Kevin lets you think, it's like now you're watching the game, but you're also watching the story. And you and I have said a million times, we love the games. Of course we love the games, but we love the stories. And now you know the story. Like Kevin's agonizing on that plane trip. He hurts as much as the fans. It bugs people when they watch games to the end of games and winning and losing team are hugging. Like, doesn't it bug you Like, what just happened? The game hasn't been over 60 seconds yet, and you're laughing with your buddy? Are you kidding me? And so to hear Kevin like, okay, you're not going to win them all, and I suffer when my team loses, but that guy suffers too. But he's also not crazy guy. He can look back on it a couple weeks later and giggle about it a little bit, as he just did in that interview. I just think there's real value. I think there's a lot of sports fans that love the stories. It's why this NFL Films has just blown up over the decades. That's why I think it was a genius move for the PGA to get out there and let NFL Films mic up their guys and show the personalities a little bit. Show them for real people. It's fun.
Yeah, it really is. And you can put yourself in that mindset. We remember the losses. UCF started at home. Cincinnati, West Virginia, I think it was West Virginia, then Cincinnati, and then you got to get on a plane and fly back, and you just went one loss at home, that 2 on that road trip. You can put yourself in his mind as he's sitting there on that plane thinking, this is awful, man. Players are probably sleeping, but coaches, the job never stops. It never shuts off during the season. It just never does. And plus, he knew about all the pressure, all the enormous – and people were asking AJ yesterday about the money, and he said it wasn't primarily about the money. It was for my development. And I don't know, some people I saw on social media, yeah, sure, and I got oceanfront property in Logan to sell. Yeah, I understand that. But I think it's true. He came here for the development. The money was going to be there no matter where, and he's going to have all sorts of money. Money is never going to be an issue for he and his family for the rest of his life, unless they really just waste it, and I don't think they will. And so Young has to figure out all these things, and listening to him, I felt like, in a sense, I was on the plane with him thinking, wow, this has got to be eating him alive. And then coming back when they touch down in the course of the flight, okay, this is what we need to do. And they've gotten results from it, right? You already spoke about that. He spoke about that Texas Tech win, the 2 wins in the conference tournament, the playing Houston right down to the end there. So his self-discovery has been beneficial, and the players, that's where I'm saying watching them walk around, sit in the locker room, and have this sense of confidence that maybe they didn't have. And it's also a sense of seriousness. Now, Keita Keba's like, man, he's not messing around here, man. What do you want to see happen? Win.
It was a great interview. He was giving you short answers. I'm like, PK's going to go through 45 questions here. But the focus that he's going to take into that game, I loved it. He wasn't caught up in the people who are rooting for him and think they're going to go deep. He wasn't caught up in the people who hate him and think they're going to check out or don't respect him or think they've collapsed. It is just have to win the game. That's it. And everything you poked and prodded, it all came back to that. And those follow-up questions, you can say, oh, you're asking him the same question over and over. Yeah, and it's revealing a mindset. And it's the mindset you want. If that's a starter on your team, then that's the way you want him thinking.
Yeah, and you could tell he's a senior.
Yeah, you hit him with that. I thought that was your first question. I was like, oh, that's PK to a T right there. How quick has the time gone by? And he's like, oh. Yeah. Is that 50, 100, 150 players you've asked that in multiple sports?
And the answers are the same every time. I mean, the words may be different, but the sentiment is the same. And
he remembers the first game. He remembers the first game. That was his first day. I just played the first game of my freshman year.
There's a song lyric on a song that I like is life gets mighty precious when there's less of it to waste. And, we see that in my life, man. Obviously, I'm getting older, and who knows what's going to happen. And I want to make sure I value whatever time is left and the time left with family, because who knows about them. I could live to 100, but if my wife doesn't, well, I'm going to be not in a good spot. So I want to make sure that she and I just value the time. And life gets mighty precious when there's less of it to waste. And Keba Keita in the college basketball vernacular can speak to that very eloquently and forcefully like he did.
Eric Mika, former BYU basketball big man, will join us next. Stay with us.
This is JJ and Alex. I got this. I've seen different versions of this. I've seen NC State or Texas handing BYU an upset loss. So your thoughts on BYU being upset in the first round?
It's a real possibility. This team can hang with the best teams in the country. They can beat Iowa State, and then they can turn around and be down 36 at home to UCF. If UCF can do that to BYU in the Marriott Center, why couldn't Texas or NC State do that to them on a neutral floor? You look at the probabilities, and ESPN has a list of these, and they have the second highest probability of being upset in the first round. So BYU is definitely on upset alert no matter who wins that game on Thursday. I have looked at Texas, though, and I've looked at NC State, and these teams are struggling coming into the tournament. But remember, NC State made a run to the Final Four as an 11 seed just 2 years ago. I just think that the best player on the floor in that game on Thursday is going to be A.J. DeBonsa, and I think that's going to be enough for BYU in the first round.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
It's 8:30 in the morning. You're probably already thinking about lunch. Join the KSL Sports Zone today at Kenny J's Barbecue in South Jordan. 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Get 10% off your order when you join us to watch the tournament games. Little sports talk radio, little NCAA hoops, little barbecue. Time for a long lunch. Might need to move a meeting there, PK. Might as well move the meeting, right?
Or cancel it.
Well, the meeting's about basketball. Not getting that much work done between 10 and 3 today. And then at 5:25, you got a game you got to watch. 5:25 for the Cougars today on TBS. It's Texas. After the people just joining the show, Texas's travel from Dayton was quite the topic in the media availability yesterday, and it goes right back to what you said about the flight from Cincinnati for BYU back in the regular season. The players can sleep, but for the coaches, they just can't turn it off. It's just not happening. It's just not how coaches are wired. It's not how you keep your job for year after year after year.
Especially this time of year, any time of year, but most especially this time of year, because it's basically all you're thinking about. The NCAA tournament, what makes it so unique is there's nothing like it. Nothing compares to anything in our sports world like the NCAA tournament. And everybody gets so excited about it, justifiably, and it kicks off here, in about 90 minutes or so, and then it just captures our attention. It's so much fun to be able to be involved in it, and I've covered many NCAA tournaments, and I appreciate every one. I mean, who knows what's ahead for me? This literally could be my last one. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully not, but you never know. And so you don't take anything for granted. And the look on Sean Miller's face, you could tell he was a little weary because he was traveling from Dayton and overnight to get here. And then their media availability, I think, was like 1:30 yesterday. So they got in a little bit in the hotel and freshened up, and away you go. I don't think it's going to be much of an impact. I think the kids can handle it, and so they have this opportunity to show what they can do. We saw what Miami of Ohio was showing what they could do. I don't know if you knew that, but, Sean Miller, anytime a coach leaves for another job, like some people are mad at Kyle Whittingham for doing this type of thing. Well, he left Xavier, and so people from Xavier actually drove to Dayton and booed Sean Miller.
That's hardcore, man.
They did.
That is hardcore. Xavier's a Cincinnati school, so it's like driving Salt Lake to Logan. Yeah, it's freeway the whole way. It's a little more than an hour.
So they came up and booed him, and he addressed that. And the players, they brought up 3 players, they addressed it too, and they loved it. because that gets them more excited. It gets them fired up more and play the villain card. They didn't boo those kids. It was more booing Sean Miller. Your guy left us. And Sean Miller, that's the second time he left Xavier because he was there and then he went to Arizona and then they had the issues and then he goes back to Xavier. So they sort of threw him a little bit of a lifeline and then he leaves and goes to Texas, right? So I don't think the Xavier fans are going to be having Sean Miller over for dinner anytime soon.
DJ PK, and it's time to welcome Eric Mika into the show, former BYU basketball big man and Lone Peak star. Eric, good morning.
Good morning. I'll ignore the fact that you said Lone Peak star, not BYU star. It's fine. It's been long enough. I won't worry about it.
Atta kid. Now, it's been a while, but this time of year, the juices get flowing. You start getting fired up. You want this Cougar team to make a deep run, but you know it's one game at a time, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. I've said this now for maybe a month and a half since Richie Saunders went down, since we've had, our glaring deficiencies become more problematic, right? Because we don't have an all-star, all-American level guy to kind of cover those gaps. I've just felt like we're dangerous because of AJ and because of the efficiency of our offense. I know people don't love, people including myself don't love sometimes how the offense looks, but I can't argue that it's ultra efficient and AJ is better than advertised. So I've been saying for a while now, listen, I know we're not perfect. We're not going to get any midseason transfers, even though that's a thing now. We are what we are. And I do think that we're dangerous. I think that we have a real shot at winning a couple games here because we have the best player in the country. I think finishing the season with a win against Tech, winning a couple games in the Big 12 Conference tournament, the way that we did, not just getting wins, but looking more cohesive, the way we played against Houston, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling like we can do some damage here.
Yeah, I get that, and I'm in Portland, Eric, and being around the team, I think that they feel that too. They have a level of confidence that they can get this job done, and they've been fairly proficient offensively most of the season. And, I mean, they got two guys that can go get 60 points combined, and we're not really going to bat an eyelash. It's going to be at the other end. What do you think the difference has been for them to be much more in tune to what's going on the defensive end?
I literally think it's just a choice that they've made certain games to lock that portion in. The games where they've looked really good defensively, and again, not perfect, right? But for them, really good means wins, and playing to a very high level. And so I think it's, you at least I've been able to tell them about the first 3 minutes of each game, how of kind of the higher level, bigger stage, Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech, Iowa State games. I've been able to tell if we're going to win or not, or if we're going to be in this game or not, depending on our physicality and just kind of imposing our will on the other team versus the other way around. We're the ones that are going and chasing rebounds. We're on the floor. It sounds so basic and so corny, but it really is a litmus test for, all right, we're playing hard. We care about this end of the floor. I think that puts us in a whole different level of teams.
Eric Mika, former BYU star, joining us right here.
Yes, there it is.
There you go, right? I'm curious, in all your time playing, doesn't matter, AAU, high school, college, your time as a pro, how often when you at practice and you're working on stuff and you're like, well, I'm a team guy, I'm going to do it, but this isn't going to work. And at some point, well, we know on the flight back from Cincinnati, Kevin Young came to the point, well, that defense isn't working. Let's do it different. And so at what point do you – you're the player, depending on how old you are, your relationship with the coach, where you are in the club's organization. Maybe you can say something, maybe you can't. But have you ever been at practice and just I'm not sure this is going to work?
Yeah, Yeah, I'm trying to rack my brain. I think the latest I was ever part of a change in a game plan was the morning walkthrough, where typically it doesn't matter what level, you kind of have 2-3 days to slowly prepare for the next team, whether that's high school, your district, or college, or conference, or pro, just your next opponent. That's kind of the cadence at most levels. And I was on a team in France, and we prepped for this team a certain way for 3 days. No, excuse me, it was in Serbia. We prepped for this team a very specific way, game planning for 3 days, and nothing happened on their end that was out of the ordinary. Like, they didn't get somebody wasn't hurt or sick or didn't dress. It just all of a sudden went from our game plan to a completely new one in the walkthrough. And I wouldn't say that's the greatest move on earth. But I also, I understand that, like, it's better to make an effort to change and become the right thing than go into something knowing that you're playing the wrong way. So, I respect any effort to switch things up. I think that's honestly where Kevin and his staff have been very solid the last 2 years. Again, never perfect, right? Like, they're still learning as they go, which is kind of a crazy thing to think. He's winning 80% of his games. He's already been to the Sweet 16. He's got these lottery picks. Like, he's doing a lot of things really well, and I think adjustments has been one of those things. But this season has been harder to do that because they don't have the depth. You don't have the luxury of, we're going to adjust to how these guys are playing and throw a different five at them and just a totally different combination like we did last year. We don't have that this year. So I think they're good at adjustments. I think we're a little bit limited on what we can adjust. But I think the biggest thing is what I started this all with. We have momentum, and momentum is everything in March. Even if you're not a good team, which I think we are, even if you're not a good team, but you think you're a good team, then you're a good team. That's just how this level of hoops works.
You're a big man. Obviously, you played as a big man your whole life, I would imagine, and so you could speak to this. How about the performances today of the big men for BYU? I think they can really make a difference if they play well. Yeah, I think Kaba is going to be a bit of a factor, or is going to be a huge factor here. It seemed for a bit, I don't know if his body was bugging him or he had some things up in his head that he was thinking about too much, but I do think that he showed a lot of life and a lot of what we know Kaba can be in that Big 12 tournament. And we're going to need that, right? Texas has a lot of size. Everybody has size, right? We get to Gonzaga, they're enormous. Ike is I think he was first-team All-American, right? And just an absolute monster down in the paint. And it's like the farther you get into this tournament, the bigger and stronger the guys are going to be, right? 1 through 5. So I think Kaba is going to be a huge factor. He's going to have to play really, really big. I was fortunate to go to the UConn game back east, and Reed on UConn is like Ike. We're talking a true 6'11", probably 265. Like, that's the big boy for college. And I felt like Kaba, he got bonked in the head, and so he couldn't finish the game. But he looked strong, and he was handling that size. And when he's playing bigger than he is, then we look really good. So we're going to need a big game from him, and then we're going to need at least one other big to step up, right? Like he doesn't play 40 minutes. I think Boop has had some really bright spots. I mean, he's had games where he's got 14 rebounds in 25 minutes. I mean, he rebounds at a very high clip, and he changes the dynamic of the defense where we can, I think, truly go 1 through 5. And so closing out a bunch of those games towards the end that we looked really good, he was a part of that defensive unit. So I think those two are going to be key for us. But then you've also got Boscovich that again has really, really big moments, the last 2 seasons where he can come in, stretch the floor, and
the moments never seem too bright. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing for him. But they're going to be huge. We know what we're going to get out of AJ. We know what we're going to get out of Rob. But for me, it's the biggest question mark is what are our bigs going to do and what is Kennard Davis going to do? If he's aggressive and our bigs are on point, then I think we look really good.
Speak to the rebounding. I mean, we talk about rebounds, points and rebounds. You'll throw stuff out there. The advantage of, having the ball and a chance to score and not having to defend versus having to defend and having no chance to score, it can magnify everything in a game. If you can go get the rebounds, you're a guy who was expected to do it and who did it at a high clip. What does it take to get all of these guys thinking about that? Because if you can just go get the rebound, a lot of problems go away.
Yeah. No, I think that's a simplified game plan. It's like you get to this level, you get to these stakes, and it's not, hey, we need to know every detail. Yeah, don't get me wrong. These scouting reports are detailed, and it's high level scouting reports, but it kind of becomes like very simplified. We just write up on the whiteboard that we want it more. You know what I mean? Like, this is a team that they're not in our conference. We don't know anything about them. We're doing our best to get as many details nailed as possible as soon as possible. But it comes down to they're obviously a solid team. That's why they're here. We're a solid team. That's why we're here. And, who wants it more? So the whiteboard becomes really, really simple there.
We mentioned you being a former Lone Peak star, and you brought up, hey, what about BYU? I want to add, Eric, I'm going to go ahead and add a former Waterford star in addition to those other places.
You're right to do it. I love it. You've done the real homework here.
I remember when you transferred over. Didn't you have to sit out or something before you could play varsity ball? Those were different times because I lived in Alpine District, but didn't move or have a quote unquote hardship. I had to sit out a year, which was crazy. Like we truly didn't think it was going to be an issue because basketball was a small factor as part of the decision. It was not the whole decision. It was not the biggest factor. And so we were like, oh yeah, we'll just transfer. We'll be fine. And that was not the case. Yeah, and you had to play JV or something?
Yeah, basically it was a redshirt year. So I practiced with the JV team every day against the varsity team, but I couldn't even play in JV games. So
you could not play in JV games?
No, I couldn't play in anything. But honestly, like I love telling this story because I was super bummed because, once I got over to Lone Peak, I was really excited to play. And interesting is I wasn't that good. I mean, I was 2A good. I was probably 6'7", and that tends to help you, dominate at that level.
Yeah.
I was super raw, and I needed that year of distant development where I was going against a team that ended up winning 5A state that year anyway, even without me. And so I was going against them every day. And because I wasn't playing in games, I kind of had the freedom to go do extra weights, get extra work into the gym, like all these different things. And I don't think that development, that big jump that I took that year, I don't think that happens if I'm playing with Lone Peak. I think it was the best thing for me.
Well, I think you're also a former Sacramento Kings star, Eric Mika. I mean, anybody who averages more than one rebound every 3 minutes, you got my attention.
Some would argue that. Not many. In fact, very, very few. Very, very few people. I'm one of them. My mom is another.
And I'm the third, and there's the club.
Yeah, there you go. That's all we need. Let's get it started.
All right. Eric, thanks for the time. Thanks for coming on and talking a little NCAA March Madness with us. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure.
Eric Mika joining us right here on the show. He played one game in the NBA. 7 rebounds in 19 minutes. But PK, I'm sure he would have loved a second or third game, but that's one more game than the rest of us weekend hoopers got. So
yeah, that
take it
is
and run
crazy,
with it, baby.
Man. Literally one game in the NBA. He got there.
He did.
There's only one game, but he still got there. That's the essence of Field of Dreams, right? The guy played one game.
One game, yeah.
The Eric Mika story.
Let's make a movie.
Yeah.
All right, coming up, Cole Bagley, Utah Mammoth Insider for KSL Sports at 9:30. More March Madness and your Utah Jazz in just a moment. Stay with us.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. You've sent so many emails to your tax pro and nothing. It feels like you're chasing updates. But now your taxes are done for you by a TurboTax expert, so you actually know what's happening. You can match with an expert and just hand off all your tax stuff to them right in the app. So instead of guessing, you can feel confident your TurboTax expert's on it. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Visit TurboTax.com to learn more. Only available with TurboTax experts. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app.
The KSL Sports Zone's Basketball Mayhem is here. Head to KSLSports.com. Sign up now for a KSL Sports Basketball Mayhem. Make your picks today. You have 1 hour. If you get the perfect bracket, you win $1 million. The best local bracket wins $1,000. And if you do better than my picks, if you beat me, then you're entered to win $500. Don't wait. Make your picks now. Powered by Omada Real Estate. Buying or selling a home? Visit OmadaRealEstate.com. Tournament gets underway a little after 10. I think the first game usually tips off about 10:10, so you got a little more than an hour.
10:15.
10:15. Got to put another commercial break in because they ratcheted up the they ratcheted up the price last time they sold the rights. All right, so a little less than an hour and 20 minutes. Go get them. PK lost amidst all the NBA basketball, or all the NCAA basketball, is the NBA game tonight. The Jazz are starting a stretch of 4 games at home in 7 days. This is the single biggest sweated-out moment for Jazz fans down the stretch. 4 games, they're all winnable. No Giannis tonight with Milwaukee in town. If they negotiate this, they are sitting pretty. But they got to negotiate this. I think they will win 1. I don't expect them to lose all of these. They will win 1. They could win 2. A 3 would be a disaster. I think at 2 and 2, you're back to sweating down to the finish. You got a little room to move right now, and they'll probably use it up with these 4 games in 7 days.
Oh, I think they'll go on 4. I have a lot of confidence in these guys.
You got more confidence in their ability to lose now. You're seeing the G League guys get the 30, 35 minutes, and you got more hope.
Well, I start Andy Garcia and the Lion King, and I'm looking pretty good.
Andy Garcia. That'd be Anderson with 2 S's. Jazz on 20 wins, Mavs on 23, and the Pelicans and Grizzlies now on 24. And they got to play those 2 teams at the end of the year in the last 3 games. They see both the Pelicans and Grizzlies. But we're running out of games. Tonight is game number 70, so we're getting right down to it.
Yeah, I think that we've been playing the clip for the Bill Armstrong, as far as making the playoff, we can't rest until there's that X by our name, which means you're in the playoff. And I think with the Jazz, we really can't rest until game 82 is concluded.
Once they've clinched the bottom 5, then you're good to go.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
How bad do you want Sacramento? 18 wins to pass them and get to 4. It does up your odds a little bit.
I don't know that can be possible.
I don't think it is.
What Sacramento do they sit DeRozan? They've basically sat everybody else.
Yeah, and once they sit DeRozan, then there's no way, right?
That's what I would think. Yeah, when he's down, we saw what he did with against the Jazz the other night. So I sit him some, and the Jazz. That's kind of the trump card there. So it would be a nice, pleasant surprise, but I wouldn't count on it, and just go for the 5th. And be happy at that, and then see where we go. Because let's just say it holds out, and they are 5th. I think they can get a good player at 5. And we were discussing it here in the hallway of the Moda Center in Portland yesterday afternoon. We're discussing guys. Somebody likes the Kingston kid from Houston, the Arkansas kid, because Arkansas is here. Calipari was speaking yesterday, and so his team is in Portland. So we got those guys. We got the Carolina kid, and then plus we have the other 3 who've been discussed about at length the entire college season. So that's 6 guys I think I just named right there. And I was talking with Jerem, who does BYU TV, in the hallway, and I said, my money, man, and I know you, DJ, you've heard me say this, if I got a chance to pick a guard from the John Calipari tree, I like my chances. The guy knows talent, man.
The guy does tend to have a lot of high draft picks who then perform. They don't usually bust. Not only do they get picked early, but then they tend to perform.
Right.
I'd have to go through them all. He's probably had a couple who didn't, but on the whole, they do.
Well, I mean, John Wall had some injuries there. But like Booker was the 12th or 13th pick as a guard. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't love to have Devin Booker on your team? He's got enormous ability. And the list goes on. SGA, I mean, you need a program to recall all the players that he's put into the NBA, especially on the guard line. So if they get 5, if the Jazz stay at 5, I could live with that. I want them to get 1 or 2, obviously, but I could live with 5 because I think they can get a player that can really fit what they need for next season.
Well, keep an eye on Sacramento. They're playing Philly tonight. Watch the score on the ticker. See if they pick up a W there. Philly's been shorthanded. Maybe the Kings have won 4 out of 6 here, including that win over the Jazz. And they still have home and home with Brooklyn and home with the Warriors. So there is a chance for them to pick up some wins. We'll see how that plays out. They got the 4th worst record right now. DJ and PK. More March Madness next. We're going to hear from more of the Cougars. PK talking to Cougars in Portland. We're going to hear from a couple of Cougars next right here on The Zone.